Chef Buff Army, it's time for another edition of Chef Buff Shouts It Down. I have 5 minutes to answer as many fitness questions as possible, and I can only take a maximum of 30 seconds per questions. Let's get started. Do you have to do abs to get abs? Simple answer, no you don't, but it depends upon your definition of what abs are. If we're talking about a regular six-pack that looks, kind of impressive, then no, not really. You can focus on exercises, compound movements that have an isometric contraction of your core. So front squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, overhead press. Do that enough throughout the years and you'll build a solid core. If you want a more pronounced one, a beach body look, or say like a bodybuilder where they really pop out and they're pronounced, then most likely you will. And I would recommend doing, abdominal work maybe 1 to twice a week, focusing on trying to get progressively better. Do you recommend dumbbell front raises for shoulders? And if not, can you give us an alternative? No, I do not recommend front raises in general. Why is this? Well, it's because your anterior deltoid, which is what you're trying to target, already gets too stimulated. You do a whole lot of overhead pressing. Any pressing, horizontal or vertical, targets it. If anything, it's already too far pronounced compared to your rear deltoid. If you really want a compound variation that puts a greater emphasis on your anterior deltoid, do a neutral grip dumbbell overhead press. So instead of doing like so, where you'd have palms pronated, you'd switch to neutral and overhead. My triceps are lagging. Any advice? Well, I think for massive triceps, that you have to do some very heavy loading. And not only that, you have to make sure you're stimulating all the different heads of your triceps. A quick tip I could give you is to make sure you're doing a tricep exercise such as a French press or a dumbbell overhead extension where your shoulder is an extension, because that'll help target your long head, which for many is lagging. I have a good one. Oh, do you? Can you gain muscle while remaining the same body fat? It's hard, but you definitely can stay within relatively the same body fat percentage. Why is this? Well, remember, it's body fat percentage. It's the amount of fat you have in your body expressed as a percentage. So you can actually increase your total fat mass as long as you increase your muscle proportionally and get the same exact body fat percentage. So the short answer, yes. If you're smart with your nutrition, if you do some cardiovascular work, and if you lift some heavy ass weight, yes, it is possible. How long is your hair? This long. Do you receive strength from your long hair? Of course. Do small wrists mean bad forearm genetics? Not necessarily, but it does mean the circumference of your forearm, or of your wrist I should say, is a good indicator of the overall size that you could build in your arm. So if you have smaller wrists, most likely your ending arm size will be smaller than someone with a larger wrist. But don't let that discourage you from building those pythons. Barbell versus dumbbell shrugs for traps. Which one and why? Well, I actually don't recommend for most individuals a lot of direct trap work once again. Why? It's because your upper trap gets too stimulated. Deadlifts, a lot of back exercises, overhead pressing, even a solid bench press can help stimulate your upper traps. And if we're talking about the barbell shrug, most individuals will do it with really bad form and develop an internal shoulder rotation. In fact, sometimes shrugs can be attributed to problems with your shoulder. So instead of doing barbell shrugs, I would recommend next best would be, dumbbell shrugs, maybe a trap bar variation of the shrug. But better yet, your traps in general will develop proportion with everything else. Don't train them too frequently. So I would say dumbbells definitely instead of barbells, but I'd be careful about doing any direct trap work, especially if you have shoulder pain. What are your thoughts on branched chain amino acids and when do you consume them? I don't, and I've never recommended them. Remember, they're just really a truly concentrated form of protein, and if you're not deficient in protein, then you don't really have to consume them. So I don't recommend them. Help! Are upright rows really bad for your shoulders? Well, if you have shoulder problems, I wouldn't recommend doing them. The immediate solution I'd say is rather than do a close grip, get a shoulder width grip, kind of like a high pull Olympic style, and only pull to your nipple line rather than your neck. If you have shoulder problems, once again, you shouldn't do them. Yo, Chef Buff, what's cracking? What are some of your hobbies, such as music, movies, reading, and so forth? Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of music. I appreciate the arts, from Charlie Parker, bebop, to Jimmy Page, hard rock. I like literature, Russian literature, Tolstoy, Gogol. When we talk about movies, my favorite film director is Akira Kurosawa, Seven Samurai, Cincho Samurai. And sometimes I like punching people in the face and, Double Dragon. Billy and Jimmy Lee. Well, that's all the time we have. This has been another informative edition of Chef Buff Shouts It Down. If you have fitness questions, post them in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer them in the next episode. If you like this video, thank you for watching, but make sure you like the video. And if you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Chef Buff Army, my zealous army, I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace!